Welcome back to All the Stitches. My name is Colleen and I'm coming to you from the Lakes region of New Hampshire in the United States. And it has been a while. This is a floss tube today and also quilting. I apologize for the long delay. I think it's been a couple of months since I put a video up, but no excuse. Well, yeah, a couple of good excuses. My biggest excuse is I just couldn't get out of my own way. You know how it is sometimes. The second excuse is I really didn't have that much to show you. I was not finishing some things. They've just taken me much longer than I expected. And I just felt like I didn't have a whole lot to present to you. So thank you for coming back. And today's episode is probably about half and half. I'll have cross stitch at the beginning and then I'll switch to quilting because I've been doing a lot of quilting. Now I have not been doing much knitting. I have gone back to a little bit of knitting, as some of you who have followed along know. I was having trouble with my hands with arthritis and overuse, and like many of you, and yeah, so I've been trying to get back very easily and very slowly with knitting, and hopefully it's feeling a lot better, and hopefully I can pick that back up again. But in the meantime, let's just get started with what I have. In the cross stitch section, I have a couple of small finishes. I have a couple of works in progress. That's it. I'm just working on 2 cross stitch pieces right now. I have a lot more quilting than anything. I have finishes, I have a work in progress, a couple of works in progress. So instead of yakking away, I'm just going to go ahead and show you. And by the way, thank you to, I did hear from a couple of people who have been followers for a while, just reaching out and saying, you know, hope everything's okay. So I really appreciate that. That's so sweet of anyone to think about me when I'm not in front of them on their screen. But I do appreciate that. And everything is fine, by the way. My first cross stitch project, let me show you my finishes first. So you can see how old some of this stuff is because I am out of season at this point. I did finally finish this little Irish Kisses from Primrose Cottage Stitches. I did it pretty much as shown. I used some different trims. Shamrock Wishes and Irish Kisses, it says. I used fabric from my stash. I used a little piece of ribbon that I had. And it's backed with the same fabric. I did not finish it in time for St. Patrick's Day, but I did work on it over that period of time. So I do like to work on things in season. Now here's one that went on and on and on, and you've seen this start before. This is Stoney Creek's All is Bright. I do love this simple white on this beautiful blue fabric. I finished it finally, and I swear this thing took longer than a huge sampler. I think it was just me, but I have finally finished it, and I'm pretty pleased with it. I sewed these snowflake buttons on. They're a little bigger than I had hoped, but they were all I could find. And I struggled a little bit with lettering, but in the end it was fine. I did struggle with this fabric, as I've told you before. It is, I think it is 28 count Crystal Dwarf Lugana. Beautiful fabric, but had some trouble finding the holes in this one. But I made it into this, I never remember what these are called. I think of them as sandwich boards. And I had this fabric in my stash. I thought just worked well. Very simple. I put the little mini pom-poms around the edge. Just a simple finish. but I think that'll be pretty on a tabletop next winter. That is it for my finishes in the cross stitch world. My works in progress. I am still working. I have continued my temperature cross stitch piece, which is Stitch Modern Flying Geese Temperature Cross Stitch. There's something about this that I think is just so pleasing. I did not press this for you, but because you'll be seeing it all year. But this is how far I've gotten. Let me try to put something behind it here, see if that helps. I am behind right now. This is the most behind I have been. I am about a week behind, but they're so easy. Each little flying goose is only 9 stitches. So it's fun. It really is fun. I'm enjoying the color change, and it's kind of interesting to see how the temperature varies from day to day, or it stays the same for days in a row. You know, then I can't wait for it to change. So these colors are going to start to get warmer, and then of course the inevitable slide into the cold colors again. But I've enjoyed this. It's a lot of fun. I'm stitching this on a 16 count white Aida, just for simplicity's sake. My next work in progress is, I know you're probably sick and tired of it, but it's the winter sampler from Crocette GoGo. I've shown you a million times before. Wait till you see. This is why I haven't recorded, because I have been working on this pretty exclusively. But this is how far I've gotten. And I am so excited about this. I have only one, this tree is almost done. I have one more large tree. There's a big urn here with flowers. And then there's a moose and a deer, and you know me, right? I can't wait. I cannot wait. I'm trying to hold out and do the moose last because I love moose. And yeah. And it also has the same little trees that are up at the top. It has a set of those on the bottom. So I'm so excited. I'm so close. There are little snowflakes here and there. I'm going to go back in the end and add those. And I'm going to add my initials and the date in this little, whatever the word for that is. I can never remember. I'm so excited. I started this, I believe, in the 1st of January. And I thought I'll work on it for January, February and put it down. And I can't put it down. I really need to just finish this, which makes my videos extremely boring because this is all you'll see until it's done. That's why I try to work on some little things in between. But I just love every creature on this. I love the owls. I love the beautiful house. I love the colors. I love the little cardinals in the trees. The foxes, I love the very skinny squirrels. I said to a friend, I just stitched the skinniest squirrel I've ever seen. And she said, well, it is winter and they haven't had food for a while, so I'll go along with that. But yeah, I'm really happy with this. This is on 32 count Vintage Country Mocha. Love the way the white pops out. I do use anchor white floss because I think it has more oomph and texture, and I'm very happy with it. As you can tell, I'm very excited about this whole thing. I got the border done before I continued. I think I got to about here, and I decided to finish the whole border just so I can fit things in there properly. And I'm glad I did that because I don't have to do that at the end. And so I'm really looking forward to the rest of this. And what else about it? I think last time I was stressing about the fact that one of my trees turned out to be only a half a stitch from the border. And that was really bothering me because this is stitched 2 threads over 2. So the fact that it was a half a stitch really bothered me. And the other one was 2 stitches away from the border. I couldn't live with it. I know a lot of people said, just leave it, you'll never notice. And you're probably right, but I took it out. Oh well. Well, didn't I end up with, this one is 2 stitches away from the border. This one is 1 stitch away from the border. And don't ask me how I did it. But at that point I said, that's fine. Because I'm not a perfectionist. I'm really not. And I can live with that. And some of the things, you know, it's supposed to be symmetrical. This fox, you know, falls in the same place as that fox, and so on all across. Sometimes it didn't quite work that way. I can live with that. And I'll deal with that down in the bottom, I'm sure. But that's my winter sampler so far. And hopefully when you see it again, it will be, well, almost done anyway. So as far as Flosstube is concerned, let me tell you one thing. I have picked up a couple of patterns or charts, and you know, they're nothing unusual. So I didn't bother to pull them out to show you. I've got a couple of little tiny towns and things like that, but the new ones. But there's one I did want to show you because I think I'm going to start this when I finish the winter sampler. And it's been around for a couple of years, but it's from Needlework Press, and it's Carr 1843. I think the reason I love this is for the verse on it. It says, "Remember well and bear in mind, a faithful friend is hard to find." And I just fell in love with that. And I thought, well, you know, I'd like to stitch it. And then within this sampler, I want to put in the initials of my dearest friends. And I might even put it where the Carr 1840, whatever it is, 43, is. Where is that? Right here. I might put the initials in there, or I might scatter them if I can. We'll see. But that's something I had in mind, and I thought, well, my friends have really gotten me through my life, I'd say, but like the rest of us, since really the quarantine days and pandemic days especially, I think those friends have become even more important. Not to mention the earlier friends who really, you know, we know everything about each other's lives. But anyway, that's my goal for a future project. And now it's time for quilting. First, I have some wool applique. I believe I've shown you the start of this project before, and then I'll move on to some traditional kinds of quilting. Work in progress. This is something I've been working on for a couple of months. This is from the Woolen Needle, and it's Evergreens. And they are wool trees appliqued on homespun fabric. I've been working on this exclusively on Friday mornings. I go to a stitch and chat group at the library. And I have gotten so much done. It's unbelievable when you sit for 2 hours and just talk and work on something simple. You don't have to think about. I've gotten so many of these done. I can't tell you how many. But this is a stack of this style of tree. And it's I do a blanket stitch or buttonhole stitch. Not sure what that's called. And so I have almost all of that style done, and then I have all of these done. There's a few of these. So all the wools are different, and some of the background homespuns are different. Here's some. I don't really have that many to go. I only have this many more of this big tree to go. And then I move on to these smaller trees. So there's a couple of these. There's not that many of these. There's a couple of these small trees. Cute. And then a couple of these, which are fun. It said to bend the tips of the tree so that it just looks like it's swaying a little bit. I like that. So I only have a few of those to go. And then I put it together. It should be very simple to put together. Now, more quilting. I might as well show you another work in progress in quilting. This is the Temecula album quilt, and I'm sorry I forgot to bring the picture up with me. This is the quilt that I am working on with some friends. We're doing a quilt along for 18 months. We really split it up so that it wouldn't be overwhelming for anybody. And one of my dear friends broke it down into units. So we have now finished the first unit, and May starts the second unit. So what we're doing is working a unit at a time. And honestly, I'm pretty sure it's a big quilt. It's a big bed-size quilt. I'm pretty sure I will finish it. That's my plan. But if someone wanted to drop out, you could always just finish a unit and have a much smaller quilt. So I think that's an excellent plan. But here's mine. Let's see if I can show you this better. The fabric I'm using is from Timeless Treasures, and I will put the line of fabric in the description box below. I don't recall the name of it right now, but it's been fun. I have not done hand applique for a long time, so I am definitely out of practice, and that was kind of interesting. And I have also not done so meticulous piecing for a long time. I mean, meaning small pieces, lots of points. And I've really had to struggle and work hard to keep myself accurate, keep my seam allowances accurate, watch my cutting. And it's been kind of a good exercise, because it's really, as quilters know, it's so important to be accurate with all that cutting, sewing, pressing, you know. But it's been a lot of fun, and it's been fun doing that with other people. I honestly don't think I would sit down and make this quilt by myself, but it's really fun to see other people. I think I'm going to check with my friends before I do this, but I took a picture of us when we got together to show off our first unit. And I'm going to insert it here. And if I don't insert it, it's because I do want to ask them permission to put their pictures on the internet. So what else have I been working on? Well, I finished another quilt I showed you. I had gotten it started. It was a challenge from my quilt guild. It was their annual challenge, and the challenge was to make an attic windows quilt. Now, an attic windows quilt is one that has sort of a dimensional look. So it's like you're looking out the window and you see the wood this way and the wood this way. I'll put in a picture of one just to show you. I didn't do it quite well. I don't always follow the rules. The topic meshed with something that I've been wanting to make anyway, and that is a picture I have of Pete, my dog, Black Lab Pete, looking out the window at Pete. And from the time he was a little tiny pup, he would sit on these big boulder rocks we have out there. And so this was my view out the window all winter. And he would just sit, this crazy wild dog would sit peacefully, stare at the birds at the bird feeder for hours and not bother them at all. And it was very out of character for him, but that's what he does. And the way I did this was, I'm not sure how well it's showing, but I hand appliqued the layers of snow, okay, and the sky. I hand appliqued the trees. I hand appliqued the rocks. Then got to the point with Pete here and this little skinny mini design. And I said, I'm not hand appliquing those. So I adhered them to the surface, stitched around the very edge by machine. I did the same thing here. I put some beads on the bird feeder just to show some seeds. And it's very simple, and that's really what I wanted to do. I did the window theme around it because it's how my window looks, you know, as I looked out the window at Pete this winter. I put on the back, I like to put photos that I take the quilt design from. So this was really kind of a mesh of different photos, and I really stylized the back. My backyard really doesn't look like that. There's a lot of woods and trees back here that would have been back here, and I just wanted to keep it a very simple, sleek design. So I'm really pleased with it. I hung it, I finished it in a new way for me. I did a facing on the back instead of a binding, because I didn't want a binding that would take away from the edge. Like I wanted the edge to just abruptly come. I didn't want it to abruptly come to an end. So I really like this facing method where you don't have another fabric here to bind the edges. It just quietly ends, if that makes any sense. So I did this facing method, and you tuck these facing pieces into these corner wedges. And it gave me a new way to hang a quilt. So I was able to, these are old yardsticks that are the old style, very thin. And I was able to cut these and put these in here and then put a hanger up. So it's like a self-hanging wall quilt. This is the back fabric with all the dogs. And I had a quilt that I've started, and if someone watched some of my older episodes, this is a quilt might remember. This is a quilt I started that is a portrait quilt of my chocolate labs, George and Gracie, who were adopted by us from a rescue place, Humane Society. And I had started this quilt, well, let's just say they were gone. Gracie passed away. We rescued them in 2014. They were, I can never remember, they were 7 or 8 years old. George died in 2018, and Gracie died in 2020. And they were very sweet dogs, and they were lots of fun. They'd been together their whole lives, and they were extremely bonded. I've told the story before. I won't tell it again because I probably will cry. But I started this quilt soon after Gracie passed away. When we got Pete, the crazy puppy, I really didn't do much quilting at all. And he's going to be 3 in July. And I really just didn't really have time to come up here into this room and sew. And but anyway, I finally finished it. I finally finished George and Gracie's portrait. And here they are. This is done in the same method that if you go back to my early videos, there's one that's quilted portraits. And I believe I showed the start of this back then. But this is done in a method that I learned from a couple of different quilters, Charlotte War Anderson and Susan Carlson, from taking their classes. I don't really do it exactly like either one of them. I sort of created a hybrid method of doing this, but I took a lot from each one. What I do is, just in a real nutshell, I create a pattern based on a photograph. Here's their photograph. And and then I, cut. I basically use usually tracing paper or freezer paper, and cut templates to create all the shapes and shadows and so forth. I do adhere it down with I pin everything in place, and then I adhere it down with glue, just like Susan Carlson does, and then I stitch over it. So I straight stitch all around the edges of all the fabric. That's just a very simplified explanation. So what you end up with is this, remember old cutouts? You used to play with paper dolls and cutouts. So I ended up with these figures that were just these two dogs that were together. And then I had to figure out the background, and that seemed to take me forever. But I found a piece of sky dye fabric from Mickey Lawler, and I'm not sure if she's still making it and selling it, but it's a hand-dyed fabric. I thought it perfectly reflected the sort of lake and beachy type theme. And then I just simplified it. I put a piece of sandy type batik fabric to signify the beach where their feet always were, because they love to swim. And I got it done. And I saved I always save my dog's tags with their names on it. And so I sewed them onto their collars, their fabric collars. And that's sort of my special touch with them. So that's George and Gracie finally done. I'm so pleased. And I did another facing with this finish as well. It's nice to use when you're doing that. Use the same fabric as that's on the backing. And that's what I did here. I could not do it with the other one because I didn't have any more of that window wood type fabric. This is a different fabric because I didn't have any more of this. But I think that's fine. I'll hang it the same way. And there it is. At long last, George and Gracie. And so that's all I have for you today. I know, here we are, we're in May. I don't remember the date, but I want to say it's something like May 16th or 17th. Once again, this hopefully will be put up on YouTube in about a week. It's going to be about a week before I get to the local library again and sit for 3 hours and let it upload. But I have some good news on that front, at least for those of you who might be waiting for another video. We are finally in this area of the woods. We are finally getting high-speed internet. So they're laying the cables, or they're laying the wires now. They're buried. And I don't know when to expect it. Hopefully it's going to be soon, because as some of you know, I'm just not able to upload anything onto YouTube at home. I have to go to a library, and even there it takes hours. So with the high speed, I should be able to do it at home and do it quickly and get the videos up almost as soon as they're done and edited. And so that's exciting to me, because that's going to make my life a lot easier. But anyway, what are you all doing this spring? Is everyone surviving the pollen? I'm not. It's miserable this year. And I really never used to be allergic. I'm only allergic to cats. But guess what? I must be allergic to pollen. I mean, it's miserable, isn't it? And you can just see it. You see it in the air. Anyway, other than that, I'm fine, doing well. We're planning a couple vacations. I can't give you any details because, one, I don't think it's a good idea to put travel plans out on the internet. But when the time comes, and probably when I'm back from that trip, I will tell you all about it, because I'm very excited about it. And then we've gone ahead and made a reservation for next year, 2025, to go to Scotland. And I won't tell you about that either, except to tell you that's coming up. Now, I haven't traveled anywhere, I mean, any big trip like this since, I think, 2010. I'm pretty sure it was 2010. We went to Alaska on one of those on cruises, but it was like a land and sea thing. That was a fabulous trip. Fantastic. But that's how long it's been since I've been anywhere. So I'm very excited about that, and you'll hear more about that later. Other than that, I think that's it. I'm going to continue stitching my winter sampler and working on my quilts. And thanks to all those who keep watching and keep asking for more and leave your lovely comments. I appreciate it. Be sure you hit that like button. It's helped a lot. I don't know how. I don't know if someone has recently mentioned me on their Flosstube or their videos, but I got this several days of new follower or new subscribers, and that's always really exciting because I think, oh, maybe somebody mentioned me. I don't know. But thank you anyway, no matter how you came here to find me and sat and listened to me babble on, which is what I'm doing now, so I'm going to say goodbye. So until next time, I hope all of your stitching brings joy.